Acting Director Vogt, since you took over the CFPB, the Bureau has dropped more than 40 enforcement actions against giant corporations that have cheated American families. That's 40. And instead of having to pay back the consumers they cheated, you've told these corporations, keep the money for yourself, consumers get nothing. Let's look at one example. In 2023, Toyota agreed to pay $50 million to settle a claim that thousands of consumers were tricked into buying add-on insurance and warranties that they didn't need and they didn't want. Secret emails show that a Toyota lobbyist reached out to you, quote, to see if there's a positive path forward on their already agreed on settlement, to ask you for help after they had already agreed to repay the consumers they had cheated. Now, 2 weeks after Toyota's lobbyist reached out to you, he followed up with your second in command and said he had also flagged the issue for the White House. Oh, and Toyota did one other thing before they reached out to you. They donated $1 million to the president's inauguration. And just like that, you reversed their already agreed upon settlement. So, Acting Director Vogt, that affected thousands of people. How much on average did Toyota's customers get scammed out of?
A Senate hearing took a dramatic turn when a senator confronted the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau over a series of enforcement actions that were dropped after companies had allegedly agreed to compensate consumers. The questioning centered on one explosive example, Toyota. According to the senator, Toyota had agreed to pay $50 million after allegations that thousands of customers were pushed into purchasing unwanted add-on insurance and warranties. But after Toyota's lobbyist reportedly contacted the CFPB leadership, the settlement was reversed. And then came the question that changed the tone of the hearing. How much money were consumers supposed to get back?
Well, I think the way you've just characterized that is inaccurate. And I never talked with that lobbyist.
Mr. Vogt.
And let me just explain that you specifically, when you wrote the law, did not give the CFPB authority over car dealerships. This was a novel theory that did not have a basis in statute, and we dismissed it.
Mr. Vogt, Toyota had already agreed that they had cheated people out of money and agreed to pay the money back. And I'm asking you, when you took the action to say to Toyota, you keep the money and let all those people who got cheated just go suck air, when that happened, how much was each of those people, how much had they been cheated out of?
Senator,
I assume you had looked at the file
Senator,
and knew what it was that you were letting Toyota keep the money for.
Senator, one of the hallmarks of our stewardship of the agency is we're not going to use the sue and settle consent orders.
Oh, listen, I understand
to go after companies when we don't have the statutory authority to do so.
Each of those people had been cheated out of. I'm kind of thinking maybe you don't. It ranged from $700 to $2,500 each. So if you were a Toyota customer who got scammed out of hundreds of dollars and you were in line to get a refund and you found out that Toyota sent $1 million to the president and now Toyota doesn't have to pay you back, you might look at that and think it sounds like corruption. Acting Director Vogt, how many of the enforcement actions and investigations that you dropped were against companies that have donated to President Trump?
We've made every determination with regard to supervision and enforcement without regard to anything other than the statute and the charge that we've been given at the agency.
How many have donated to President Trump? You've dropped 40-plus actions for companies. How many of those companies have donated to President Trump?
I have no idea because
you
I
have
never
no
look at
idea.
such things.
Actually, some of them were telling you. Toyota, for example, said, we've reached out to the White House, and it's a matter of public record, where they donated $1 million. You know, so I've got a list here of companies that cut checks to President Trump that we know of. Apple, Bank of America, Capital One, JP Morgan. You want me to keep going on this? Toyota, Walmart, Meta, and that's just at the CFPB. In 2025, across federal agencies, the Trump administration dropped cases against more than 50 companies that we can document have financial ties to the president or to his inner circle. So let's take a look at one more case, one you have mentioned. Navy Federal Credit Union got caught by the CFPB charging illegal overdraft fees. If you hadn't dropped in and called off the settlement, they had agreed to a settlement, how much would our service members have been reimbursed for getting cheated? How much?
Those fees were not illegal, and remember that this was a credit union made up of service members who would have had to pay for that cost.
Don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscribers button for more political and controversial showdowns.